Words Monday night weren't vulgar, saying the, quote, mainstream media is giving it a false meaning. Meanwhile, Trump is cementing his dominance in the polls, leading the latest CNN ORC poll by over 20 points. Look at the numbers there. Our political team covering every angle of this story and the new feud. First, NBC's Hallie Jackson. So, Hallie, explain why Trump is going after Clinton so hard on this. Does he see a weakness in her campaign?
I think he sees an opportunity to get out there and to make some waves, potentially. Look at what Trump has done, Donald Trump has done to all the other candidates in the Republican field. He's gone after them hard, with the exception of Senator Ted Cruz. And now you have the Democratic frontrunner who seems potentially like a target now for Trump. If the two of them do end up head-to-head come next year, come next summer, let's say. So Trump, it's also a way for him potentially to maybe elevate himself a little bit. Right now, there's still members of the establishment who think Trump will simply fade, even though, as that new poll you just talked about shows that his ceiling is now close to 40%, basically. So this is an opportunity possibly for Trump to say, hey, look, this is a preview of what could come in the next 6 months. Clinton, meanwhile, not taking any of this, sitting down. I want you to listen to what she had to say about Trump and taking responsibility and taking consequences for his actions. Listen.
His very vehement reaction to my saying that he is a very effective recruiter for ISIS is, I think, an indication that he will, deny and try to ignore the consequences of his comments.
And this feud, Thomas, this discussion now, these attacks between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are something that we've seen building really over the last several days. As Donald Trump continues to ratchet up his rhetoric, Hillary Clinton will continue, presumably, to take him to task for it. She's somebody who will do that on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, we should mention we haven't seen that many candidates willing to really step up and take it to Trump, who are at least in that top tier. Jeb Bush has been doing so more recently, and he's been touting that on the campaign trail, too, as an asset. Thomas.
NBC's Hallie Jackson reporting there in Washington. Hallie, thanks so much. I want to talk to our colleague now, MSNBC political correspondent and host Steve Kornacki. So, Steve, walk us through these numbers. And also, I just want to say Donald Trump did tweet about this 41 minutes ago, saying it's hard to believe I'm winning by so much when I'm treated so badly by the media. New poll amazing in all categories, 21-point lead.
Right. Well, Lee, put it up there on the screen for you again. A CNN poll, Donald Trump at 39% in the Republican race. Ted Cruz way back in second, more than 20 points behind him. A couple things to point out here. One, this is the fourth poll of the last 5 taken nationally that have Donald Trump around 40% and more than 20 points ahead of his nearest rival. Fourth in the last 5 to show that. Something else that's worth looking at here, they did ask Republican voters in this poll, who gives you your best chance to win the White House, to beat the Republicans in November 2016? Is it Donald Trump? Or is it one of the other candidates? Here, Donald Trump, 46% say it's Donald Trump. 50%, though, say it's one of the other candidates. That speaks to what a lot of people say is Trump's weakness. If somehow this field can winnow down and one of these candidates can get into a one-on-one race with Donald Trump, there are a lot of Republicans with whom Donald Trump is not popular, who do not want to see Donald Trump as their nominee. Donald Trump is benefiting so much right now from split opposition, from a divided field. If it could ever get reduced to a one-on-one, it may be a different race. But getting to that one-on-one, that could be very difficult, obviously. You have in Iowa right now, Ted Cruz is his biggest competition there. Ted Cruz, in fact, taking the lead in the most recent Iowa polls. Ted Cruz is hoping to parlay a win in Iowa, where there are lots of evangelical Christian voters, to take that down south, where there are also lots of evangelical Christian voters, hoping he could win South Carolina, hoping he could win these SEC states that are going to vote on March 1st. Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, states like this. That's the Ted Cruz strategy. Meanwhile, you got the establishment wing of the party, the Bushes, the Rubios, the Christies. They're banking it all on New Hampshire. They want to see if they can knock off Trump there and get one of those shots against him coming out of New Hampshire. So lines of attack against Trump. Cruz, he's got to worry about on the right, the establishment on the left. But again, right now, this divided field you see very much benefiting Donald Trump.
Steve Kornacki, thank you, sir. We'll talk again shortly. I want to bring into the conversation Matt K. Lewis, a senior contributor at the Daily Caller. He's also the author of Too Dumb to Fail, How the GOP Betrayed the Reagan Revolution. Matt, good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, so you've recently said that supporting Donald Trump requires a suspension of belief, and you're not alone in this when we talk about those that are establishment voices on the right, because it seems that conservative talkers, they're beginning to turn on Trump. Specifically, we've got Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity. Here's a quote, though, from the Washington Post talking about this. Quote, getting on their bad side could be more problematic, and right now Trump appears to be falling out of favor with one of the few segments of the media that carries real weight within his party's base. But, Matt, doesn't Donald Trump really grow off the fact that he is not establishment and that voices like yours and others aren't behind him? He uses it to his advantage.
He does, but I would make a distinction between voices like mine and the voices that matter most to the primary voters. Unfortunately, they're not listening to me. They're not listening to George Will or Charles Krauthammer or the conservative writers or columnists that have been critical of Donald Trump. The voices that matter most in the Republican primary are Mark Levin, Rush Limbaugh, Laura Ingraham, mostly talk radio hosts, and then websites like Breitbart.com. And so that is where Trump has had a lot of strength. And you've had conservative talk show hosts like Rush Limbaugh and Mark Levin give Trump a pass, sort of a tacit endorsement. They were very hesitant to ever say anything critical about him. Even when he said horrible things about Megyn Kelly or POWs or handicapped reporters, they sort of looked the other way, and they enjoyed the fact that he was politically incorrect. But now that they see the chance to help the guy they really like, Ted Cruz, they're starting to turn against Trump, and that really could matter going forward.
All right, so as we look at the numbers that Steve just referenced about this new poll that's just out, Matt, we've got Trump leading on these top issues among the respondents that have to deal with just not only who they think can win, but which candidate can best handle the economy, ISIS, illegal immigration. We see Donald Trump scoring the highest here. So is he a shoo-in to be the nominee currently?
No, he's not. I mean, you know, you got to give him credit where credit's due. He is dominating in the polls. And I think it's actually also concerning if you look, it's not just Donald Trump, but if you add up Trump and Cruz and Ben Carson, you have a grand total of 3 years of elected experience, and you have about 67 to 70% of the vote right now going to those three candidates. So it's an amazing development that we have right now. But look, I think that Donald Trump's going to lose Iowa to Ted Cruz. That might puncture the facade of Donald Trump as a winner. You know, everything's banked on him being a winner. I think that's where a lot of the polls come from. Trump can do anything. He can fix anything. Well, what if he wins? What if he loses Iowa, as I think he will? And if he loses New Hampshire, which he could, now he's 0 for 2. What happens to that notion that Trump is a winner? It could collapse.
But Iowa was really only a primary bellwether for Bush back in 2000. So is it really the great indicator that it once was?
Well, I think that you're right. I mean, Republicans traditionally have to win New Hampshire. That's the real test. But if Trump has built himself up as a winner, if he starts losing, what happens to his support? It's unclear. We don't know. And maybe this is wishful thinking, but it's possible that he could collapse when he actually starts to lose, when the votes come in.
Matt Lewis. Matt, great to see you. Happy holidays to you.
Right back at you.
Thank you, sir. We turn our attention now to politics and Donald Trump not backing away from that personal attack lobbed at Hillary Clinton. Now, you're going to remember the Republican frontrunner came under fire earlier this week for using this off-color term for the male anatomy when referencing Clinton's 2008 primary loss to President Obama. Here's what Trump had to say last night.
Well, to me, it always meant to get beaten badly. I mean, and that's what happened with Hillary Clinton. She got beaten badly. But to me, that's really a reference to getting beaten and really, you know, pretty decisively. And when I said it, nobody in the audience thought anything about it. They clapped. They didn't view that as being a horrible thing.
I want to bring in now Politico's Eli Stokols and Dean Obeidallah, host of the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Radio. Also, Dean is a columnist for the Daily Beast. Gentlemen, good to have you with me. Eli, let me start with you. Who benefits from the back and forth between Secretary Clinton and Donald Trump?
Well, that remains to be seen. I mean, Hillary Clinton certainly thinks she can benefit from this to galvanize women's supporters. But, you know, Donald Trump has not been hurt by any of the crazy things that he said for months now. And this is another thing. I mean, there are a lot of verbs he could have used other than the one he chose. And what he does is he draws attention away from all the other candidates because everybody, again, is reacting to something he says. The political incorrectness, it stuns a lot of people who have watched politics for a long time, but it also is what endears his supporters to to him because they like him shooting from the hip, so to speak. So it remains to be seen if any other Republican rivals who, you know, most of them don't really want to talk about this, some of them who criticize him. I don't know if there's anything really to be gained from doing that at this point, because we've seen this pattern play out for months, and nothing really seems to stop Trump's continued success atop the Republican field.
No, the polls seem to indicate he is a strong contender, Dean, still. He is rewarded by the rhetoric because of it, so he feels emboldened. And a lot of people might say, okay, go after Hillary Clinton in this fashion. We like getting dirty like this.
Sure, they do. And for Donald Trump, look at it this way. He's no longer fighting with Ted Cruz or Jeb Bush. He's taking on the presumptive Democratic nominee. So he's saying to the party, I'm beyond the primary challenges now. It's me against Hillary Clinton. It excites his base. They don't like Hillary at all. And on some level now, Hillary's base, I think, is animated to defend her because his comment is just off the charts. And this is not Eli saying it's distract us. It is. It's to distract us from policy. Donald Trump does not want to talk about the nuances of policy, nor does his base want to hear it. They want to hear this stuff. They want to hear red meat, politically incorrect stuff, demonizing, insults all the way, and the crowd goes crazy for it, and Trump ascends every time he does it.
Meanwhile, Eli, we've got to go through the nuances of these tweets from Donald Trump to understand the references that he's trying to allude to.
Well, I mean, yeah, and he's made insinuations about Hillary Clinton for months. I mean, maybe because she's not a supermodel, it's not his kind of woman, so to speak. But, he'll talk about her pantsuits. He'll make insinuations about her special friendship with Huma Abedin, her top aide. I mean, he's been sort of saying these things for a while, and now this is a little more unvarnished in terms of what he's trying to maybe say about Hillary Clinton, and it may backfire. This is one of the things, too, that establishment Republicans who are really trying to convince voters, look, if you go for Trump, this is going to be a problem for us. This is just another data point for them to point to, saying, look, it's time to get serious. That's what's going on up in New Hampshire with Jeb Bush and Chris Christie and some of these other candidates saying, you do not want to go with Trump because you're going to put the party in a real bind.
And as we race toward Iowa and New Hampshire, Dean, what is the best thing that can happen? If you were Reince Priebus at the RNC, what would you want for Christmas?
I would want some reasonable rhetoric from Donald Trump. I mean, he's not going to say Donald Trump to leave the campaign, but frankly, do you want this to be your party's nominee to define you for the next 4 years if he were to win, or 8 years? The idea is anti-Latino, anti-Muslim, ridiculous comments about women, beating up a Black Lives activist matter. No, this is a horrible thing for the legacy of the GOP. So I think